Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Sunday night, last 30th November, last day of November, taking off from Sudbury to head to Elliot Lake. Yeah, still got squirrely rudders, eh? This is not the plane that I did the flight in from here. I started off with one called a CT, show later, and it's kind of a neat looking light sport. But let's get you some sound over here just a second. Where'd my so the plane had very flaky control. It's like just bouncing all over the place. So I didn't think I could make the landing at Elliot Lake with that plane, the CT. So I reached into my bucket of tricks and put the Cub in just before the landing. And so I did the landing. Okay, but the problem with that whole flight, after I got rid of the CT partway through, the controls just crazy. Like the stick, not only touchy, but as the wing was going left and right, you'll see a little bit of it in here. I was having to do like wild gyrations with my stick just to keep the plane steady, and I wasn't about to go restart the whole thing and set up all over again. I think what happened is the configuration files for that CT plane stayed in, so when I just changed the airplane in the setup, it gives the look of the Cub, but I think some of the programming for that other plane was what's really rerunning this flight. We'll find out, because for the most part I have a nice time like landing the flight at the first airfield where I learned to fly, and it acts pretty much like a plane of that size should. Now you're not going to see this here, but you see my hand. On the recording, my hand is up there. That's getting my hand. So on the screens left and right, I've raised the screens, almost 4 inches on styrofoam pads that came to me from my higher power. And what's happened is, right now when we're in fairly level flight, the horizons on all 3 screens, 2 of them port and straight ahead are bang on. The other one's off a little bit, but anyway, pretty close. I almost don't even have to look at the artificial horizon. I can tell what's happening by the 2 or 3 horizons. So we're 73 nautical miles away from Charlie Yankee Echo Lima, Elliot Lake, and I'm not sure how soon I changed from that CT to the Cub, and I did zoom ahead. They call it slewing. That's what they call it. I slewed ahead for the sake of everybody. A lot of similarities to the real flying in this area. The exception that Sudbury doesn't show the super stack. In Sudbury, has got I think they were going to start taking down, but one of the tallest smokestacks in the world. It is as high as is higher maybe than the CN Tower, I'm not sure, but pretty high. My father, who moved from Toronto up to north of Huntsville, the Sundridge area, people that are familiar with Ontario, just a little west of Algonquin Park, just north of Muskoka, that movie stars go. Well, he complained when they put the super stack in because he said they were sending acid rain down to where he lived, getting rid of it in Sudbury, but sending it into the lakes down south. So eventually they had to put scrubbers on the stacks and try to counter some of the acid rain, which was hurting the lakes, the fish and environment. Here in the mining area where I live, the mines are continually adding base or lime to water in the area where the tailing ponds were because it's not really radioactive. You get more radioactivity flying on a major airliner to Vancouver than you do even walking on the tailing ponds. So a geologist told me. But the acidity that comes out of the tailing ponds, they used a lot of acid to break down the tailings, and yeah, so they have a plant here that all it does is add base lime to the water on a continual basis. Once one of the tailing pond dams broke, and it caused a little bit of a pollution, acidic pollution, into a couple of adjoining lakes and ponds for just a while. Okay, so on the left, I don't know if I can, on the left, well, right now on the main screen to the port wing, there's an airport there, a little thing in the sky. It's called Sudbury Coniston, and that's the one I tried to land in the other day. And the one, if truth were told, still there are two smokestacks there at Coniston, and over on our right in that area there should be one monster smokestack and another one slightly west. But this is not Google Earth. This is a reasonable representation. You get the roads and the rivers and airports in the right place. And you're missing McDonald's and Tim Hortons. In the near future, I may swap out my Microsoft Flight Simulator here for my other hard drive and throw in X-Plane just to check its performance. It's supposed to have a little bit better actual airplane performance, but it doesn't have the visuals. The turnkey. This thing turnkey that's what hooked me for when my grandkids came. They would be bored out of their mind looking at flat moonscape and that. And you can overcome that. You can download Google Earth or Bing overlays from space, and so what you fly over is be the real deal. But it's a lot of work. So, like, say from here to Elliot Lake, you'd be laying out dozens of maps, and the system picks up them, and they have to be all put in folders and pathways, very particular and very exact, which is not my strong suit. But I know I tried to put the Toronto waterfront and the downtown core of Toronto into X-Plane, and people have done it, but they're a lot more computer savvy than I am. So, but when you fly with Microsoft Flight Simulator Toronto, well, there you have it. You've got Billy Bishop, the CN Tower, and the Toronto Islands, where my parents lived, where my grandparents lived when they first went to Toronto for a little bit, and then they had a cottage over there. Toronto was always, the Toronto Islands were an escape in the summertime for people back in the 50s, 40s, and 50s. I don't remember the 40s much, but 60s. You would ride downtown on the streetcar, and then when the subway came, and get on a ferry and go over to the Toronto Islands, because it'd be cooler there. It was a nice getaway. So, what road do we have on our right there? Yeah, I think that's Highway 17 we're flying over. Still got that twitch tail there. I don't know if my video card's starting to get weak. We're pouring a lot of stuff through this thing. My nav map up there is topographical now, and the plane is following the exact route we had before, showing crossing Highway 17. Says we on our right, the big lake. I don't know if I can show you that lake. There's that lake there to the right. I don't know if that one looks like it's called McFarland Lake. Who knew? There's a big lake up in behind Ramsey Lake, and the Sudbury Seaplane Base is there just at around 2 o'clock. Around 2 o'clock, the starboard wings, Sudbury Seaplane Base. In fact, my good friend Thomas, we flew together our planes out of Elliot Lake. He had been a glider pilot in Czechoslovakia way back last century, and that'd be 50 years ago now. And so somewhere around plus or minus 2010, he decided to go flying again and take up flying lessons. So he went and started training on a 172 on floats, and then a 172 on skis in the winter. And then he bought an ultralight, which there we go. We're rocking and rolling west. 62 nautical miles to Elliot Lake. We're going like an F-18. We are going like stink. I hope we don't rip off the tail feathers. We were over the V&E there. Now, what's the big map say we're at? Oh my goodness. Well, we went past Whitefish, and The nav map says we're going 94 knots, 92 knots, and the simulator says we're doing 90. That's a bit behind. I don't know. Nav map seems to be ahead. It seems to be getting its information from Flight Simulator faster than this other program here called Air Manager, which is on my LAN, and it picks up the panel information from the program through the LAN network. And it looks to me like the nav map is picking up information faster than the panel. It says AI is currently flying the plane to recover from a stall. It's interesting. I thought it just repeated what had happened before. Okay, so nav map says that we're a stone's throw from Espanola on the left. Did we go by Marks Day Warren? It's not showing that. I saw that the first time I flew through here. The road is way off on our left. Can't see the road really. But Espanola and then Lake Huron is way over on the left. We have one of these bubbles in the sky. Looks like the gas stations in Quebec where they put the signs so high in the sky they need lights on them to protect them from planes. You gotta love Quebec. They got the greatest rest stops. This thing was bouncing up and down. Like, I don't have winds put in too much. It's just those flaky controls. Maybe I was daydreaming, looking at the nav map or something and pulling back on the stick. That happened. 2,900 feet there. 55 knots. Getting a little slow. That Jenny last night flew at Marina Point for Peter. My goodness, that Jenny, I couldn't hardly get 60 knots out of it. And it's really hard to keep it in the sky. I have to look up and find out if that's a problem with that particular model. Okay. Still crawling to Espanola area. Oh, there's Narren Center. Neon sign in the sky, Narren Center. which is just slightly east of the Espanola turn. Big piece of water in there. So. But we're quite north of Highway 17. Wow. I wonder if I put the big circle on there. The rosette there. That'll help me to judge distances. Each ring seems to be a couple of nautical miles. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, nav map says 108 knots, and what this other gizmo thing here says 100, just a bit below. So, altitude 4,600 feet. And change. 47. Yeah, that's pretty close. The two of them are agreed on that. 35 knots to home base. Trying to change the clock on the panel, but I can't do that. Not easily. I think I sped this up again to get to Elliot Lake. I was getting a little bored. It says ice airs flying over at 35,000 feet. Who ever heard of ice air? I heard of ice pilots, but not ice air. Come on, Cub, put the pedal to the metal. hydro line going across there on the left. Definitely not a place to land. Here we go. We're rocking and rolling. I was just reading the name of a lake on the nav map, and I lost it with that little episode. Bull Lake. I don't know what that is. Burnt Bull Lake. Millen Lake. Folsom Lake. I'm just starting to do something with this nav map I never did before. Black Lake. That's fun. Walton Lake. $18 nautical miles. So Manitoulins over on the left somewhere, but not tonight. Sure haven't. Oh, just dropped the flaps, eh? No, that's the ailerons, Goofy. Big ailerons. Folsom Lake. Okay. Whiskey Lake. It's a bigger one. Just a little bit of a warning, folks. It's going to be a circus ride in. I'll leave at chase view since I'm not landing the plane. But the controls are so horrible. Worst I've ever had. Not typical for this particular model, but I think it's that other CT plane messed up what's called a configuration file. I'm literally moving this stick left and right continually to try to keep it level. Can't see that as it's not as evident when you're inside the plane. Ah, yeah, this it is. $2,400 feet, 60 knots, a little high. Gonna go up to a crosswind and an avocado downwind base. Come on, Davey, let's land the plane. Whiskey Lake. Whitefish Lake. I saw McCoy Lake. I saw Goldbeak Lake there somewhere, but Quirk Lake. She's a biggie. Quirk Lake, it's about 10 miles long. That's not it there, that's another little piece. It's over the hills. Once we had a biplane, a crop duster, coming into Elliot Lake, and he was caught in the scud over Quirk Lake, and he was lower than the hilltops. Tried to make it into Elliot Lake, came over the hill, one of those hills there, hit the trees and skied down the other side of the trees. They had to bring the plane out with a helicopter a few days after. My late friend Keith was trying to talk him down onto a road. Not sure if the guy heard Keith on his radio or not, but Keith lived right on Quirk Lake. I miss Keith. Keith took me under his wing when I moved here. Flew me quite a few places. 172 Skyhawk. It had been set up for floats, so he had the 180 engine in it instead of the 160. Pecor's Lake. Howe Lake, Pecor Lake, May Lake. Howe Lake and Pecor Lake, they almost join. Just coming over Whitefish Lake. I shouldn't have recorded this and posted it, but because I should fix the settings and make the landing better. But hey, too tired. We're just finishing the Ring of Fire tour. It started here. Went to Thessalon, I think. And I went to Chapleau. I went to Sault Ste. Marie, I guess. Then I went to Wawa. Then I came back to Chapleau. Then I went to Hearst. Then I went to Kapuskasing, Cochrane, Kirkland Lake, North Bay, Sudbury, Elliot Lake. Still 6 miles out. Come on. Firemen, shovel the coal. I gotta go do stuff. Five nautical miles. Usually from the town, Elliot Lake to town, it's about 5 nautical miles down to the airport. Fly past the lookout, and the fire tower, and the radio stations. $70 knots, 2,200 feet. The hills. United Airlines is flying over top 32,000 feet. Have a nice flight. Going to Gander, eh? I said I'd leave it outside for you. I will. Just gonna. There should be a golf course address here too. You see that in Google Earth? There's some place I flew over. Microsoft had a golf course. Okay, so now we're fighting with these controls, eh? To get around here. Keep her in the sky. Not too high, not too low. That's what they all say when they're playing a big game. Hockey game, football game, whatever. Not too high, not too low. 70 knots. $2,278 feet. Okay, we just cut the power. Just coming down 1,500 feet a minute. There we go. 80 knots. 2,000 feet. Dropping 300 feet a minute. 1,900 feet. Runway here is at 1,050. 1,071 it says. $1,400 feet. Like 100 knots. Yeah, I added coal to it, stop the sink and turn in the corner. $1,500 feet, back up to 1,600 feet. No, we're not going back to Sudbury. I've had enough. $90 knots, 1,700 feet. Coming down a bit. There's the runway. There's the runway. Turned a little late. Turned a little late. The stick is like using a rubber band right now. Whoa. The soil here looks like PEI, red. Come on, this is Wonderland, Disney World. Come on. Yeah. That's nerve-wracking. Okay. Not okay, but that's all that she wrote. Good night, John Boy. Okay.